Hello, everybody. This is my weekly meltdown. I'm Beth Dixon, and welcome to our show. We are teaming up today with Podquester. We have Louie here from Podquester, and we're going to be doing a Survivor Sequester mini cast analysis. We also have some pretty baller guests today. We have Andy, Dante, and AJ to provide some amazing commentary on the cast that we have put together. Louie, how are you doing today? Are you excited?
I am fantastic. So excited. I feel like this whole weekend is just another, it's like another Christmas weekend. There's so much to look forward to. So I've been doing my research. I've been trying to catch up on a few seasons I haven't seen. Haven't quite made it all the way through, but partially. So I'm happy. I think I have a decent opinion of everybody at this point.
Perfect. Excellent. Andy, how are you doing? Are you excited for this special?
I am absolutely bursting at the seams. Like Louie, I had to do a little bit of binging this week. Cannot say that I've watched every single person play, but I've done a lot of Googling, and I have a lot of opinions, whether or not they're valid.
Perfect. We love valid or not or invalid opinions. That's what all of podcasting is now. Dante, welcome on. Do you have any pre-thoughts before we even start talking about the cast?
I just have to say I heart my South Africa people. I'm like really obsessed with Island of Secrets. So I don't know if people watch that, but I like saw the international crowd, not to diss the US people, but like I actually freaked out. I was like, Deepay is like my winner pick, and I'm sure we'll cover that when we get to her. But yeah, loving the cast. I think it's just gonna be crazy.
Excellent. And AJ, now, so for those that don't know, AJ, Louie, and I, we all butted heads against each other in Winners at War. AJ's back, but this time we're coming at each other friendly, in a friendly way.
I'm getting Louie out.
I was going to say, we all went pre-jury, so clearly it didn't work for any of us. We should have had another plan.
You need to have good players on here, not us.
Well, Dante and I have never gone pre-jury. We both did jury every time we played.
But y'all didn't win.
But AJ, who are you looking forward to, or what are you looking? Sorry, not who. We'll get into that. But what are you looking forward to most about this this mini coming up tomorrow?
I am looking forward to the gameplay, the characters. Like I'm excited to see we're never going to see like a US versus anything ever, like in real thing. And I'm so interested to see how the mix and mingle, because there's some lovely people, fun people on the US side, but the international side though, Beth. Oh, there's some people that are ready to play.
I cannot wait to get into this. So everybody has a full disclosure. Your girl Beth here, not the biggest international fan, not in terms of like, I'm not a fan of it, but I just haven't watched them. And so I will not be the expert. You'll see me probably asking more questions when we get to that portion of our esteemed guests here. But we're going to go through the entirety of the graphic here. We're going to go person by person on the graphic that we have on Twitter, on Sequester's Twitter. And we'll just talk a little bit about each person, what they were like in their season, what we think they might bring to Sequester, and potentially how we think they're going to do in the game. Like maybe if we have a strong feeling of where they might place, like we'll say that as well. But all thoughts and opinions are valid here. So we're going to get going. Before we do, I just want to say welcome to everybody in the chat. We've got a lot of great people. We've got Marcus, Miss Titan, Joseph, Chris, Bryce, Miles, Giovanni, Goldie, Ruby Tuesday, Nadeem. Welcome on in. Thank you so much for joining us today. So why don't we kick it off with Alec Merlino, who was from, what was it? Not David versus Goliath.
David versus Goliath.
Yeah, okay. So Alec, who wants to start talking about Alec here? He was a great character, I remember, in that season.
The first thing that came to mind for me, just in him being on Sequester, I thought he was interesting casting, because he's not someone I would expect to take part in something like this. But it reminded me a little bit kind of Dean, and we know how well he did last time, but it made sense that Dean was on because he was so connected and so much of his cast was, Chelsea was on there and so much of his cast was on there. With Alec, it was interesting because I wouldn't expect him to be a part of this. And also I don't know how much research he'll do or how much he'll actually prepare for a game like this. He just doesn't seem the type. But that being said, I think because of that, he could be someone that does sneak to the end. Because I imagine, this is a big cast of gamers, and I imagine that they'll realize that he probably doesn't fall into that bucket.
I will solidly disagree with you, Louis.
Ooh, okay.
Alec
right out the
gate. Alec is a gamer, Louis. Have you, David vs. Goliath, he was one of the big people in charge. He was going for it. He was not afraid to take shots. He was making strategic moves. People were like, oh, I don't know about this. But he was like, nope, I know about this. And then it worked out for him. He was the person that was when it was David versus Goliath, he was like, bump that. We're going to mix this together. We're going to be the core group. We're going to run both sides and we're going to take over. Now, he made some bad choices on who should be in that group. But Alec is not this person that's a dean that's just here to have fun and play. Alex is here to play. He's going to play hard if he's anything like he was on Survivor.
Now, do you think, Andy, that this is a case where Alec outplayed himself actually in David versus Goliath?
I do. I kind of think that Alec is almost the anti-dean.
Ooh, okay.
Now, but before anything, I want to say that Alex seems to have at least done a little bit of self-reflection and learning, because to the best of my knowledge, he did not leak that he was on this cast before it was announced. So he is still welcome on Sequester, which is beautiful, because frankly, he was a treat on Survivor also. But I think that where Dean's game on Survivor was he started really quiet, kind of goobery, a little bit slow, and then really started to turn it up late game. Alec came in, hit the ground running, that first tribe swap especially, because obviously his big strategic move was that Natalya boot. That's what he is known for. He took ownership over that. I think it was a terrible decision for his game, but he took ownership of it and then continued to be that kind of wild card through the early merge. And frankly, it wasn't why he got voted out. He actually had some game savvy. He knew where he stood at all times, and being a physical threat isn't as much of a detriment in Sequester. So I think he's got a shot.
Dante, what are your thoughts on his ability to navigate this game socially?
My first thought was, socially, I think he definitely could be part of the cool kids group, right? He's very charming and kind of good looking. So the girls will want to talk to him. We have some gay guys on there that might flirting with him. I mean, I don't know anything about that. I don't know. I mean, I just remember he kind of had this weird exit from Survivor and was not on the reunion. Sorry, Alec, to bring that up. I don't know if that has anything to do with he's going to come in hard and try to make a name in Sequester. But I think, remembering his little moments the blind sides and switching, from the Goliath, he has potential, Sequester will just, if he gets around where he can make a move, he might be one of those big moves kind of people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think for Alec, to clarify it a little bit, not so much that he wasn't a gamer in his season of Survivor, because he definitely was. I meant more so in the category of, he's not someone who you typically think of when you think of the Survivor circle, right? He's not in that circle. He's not one of those, quote unquote super fans that you would expect to place into a game like this, which is why I think he does kind of stand out when you're looking at the cast as a whole. He's one of the couple of them that you're I wouldn't expect him to be here right now. How did he get involved? Which I think could either, be his detriment very early, or if he manages to get past that, could be his benefit to go a long way.
I agree.
I'm sorry, you can go, Beth.
Oh, no. I was just saying I agree. Go ahead.
I really unlike Dean's, I don't think Alec's going to be the first boot. I think Alec is the type of person who will go with the flow. He will take the punches and keep going. There's some people here that's going to I feel will take a shot and then be hold up, wait a minute, we got to go back over this. Why did you betray me? But Alec, I feel is the type of person that's you got me. Let's keep going, move on, move forward. Let's go do this. And I think that is a very good asset to have when you're playing Sequester.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's something that I think he's capable of creating chaos, but also owning all right, that was a good move. Let's move on. And I think that his willingness to work with who he thought would be great in the moment in Survivor will translate well into Sequester, when you never know who's going to be up for elimination and who you may need to work with in that round. I see Alec being dragged out right before jury.
Ooh.
Where do you all see him placing in this game?
That's a good question. I don't see him winning. I think he's going to be great for however much time we get him. I think, probably mid to late pre-jury, and it would not shock me at all if he gets dragged.
Yeah.
I think he's early jury. I think he's out he's making the jury. I don't think he's going to get dragged. I feel like there's some other people who could take that crown, but we'll save that for later. But I think he'll make early jury. I don't think people are going to let him get too far, because I think something that's underrated is in Sequester is the social game. And people genuinely like Alec. If it wasn't for his effort post, he'll be a darling at CBS. People just loves Alec.
He would probably play it again by now.
I mean,
Alec.
Louis and Dante, where do you think that he'll be placing?
Here's the thing, and I'll kind of, to discuss it as a whole, I'm concerned for the international people, just because I think it's so easy for the Americans, who basically all know each other, to bond together and not want to vote out one of their own to start. Whereas the international version, we're still talking about 3 separate pockets that don't know each other. So I'm not sure that they're going to, I'm pretty sure that they're not going to be able to all coexist and immediately work together, knowing that they don't know each other and the others do. Because of that, I think Alec is somewhat safe to start, but the American cast is so good. If I had to place where Alec goes, I think he would be one of the first Americans to leave.
Louis, to push back on your thing, I think Alec is one of the Americans that I'll be most likely, in my opinion, to be hey, international folks, why don't you come work with me and stuff like that? I feel like Alec's not the type of person to have watched a lot of international Survivors, so he don't know who he's getting in bed with, which will be to his detriment. But I feel like he is the type of person that's being you know what, I don't like my current position here. Let me go find some people to rally behind me, get a good spot. Now that could also
Alec turning on the Americans. That seems very likely.
Now that could rub the Americans the wrong way. Let's not forget the BB Mini. Who was that girl who turned against Canada, and then Canada wanted to destroy her?
Maddie.
Yes, yeah. Maddie. I can see Alec being a Maddie, but this time actually going pre-jury, so that could be a possibility.
Great.
But
Yeah. Dante, where do you think Alec will land in the placement?
I think he's going to be safe in the beginning, because there's just so many more big name people who have such a reputation. I don't know if people really remember. I honestly forgot about his moves in David and Goliath. But I could see him getting to midway. I kind of place him in the middle, maybe around jury.
Well, I'm excited to see Alec play for sure. And I can't wait to see what he brings to the game. We'll move on to Lauren O'Connell, who was on the first Edge of Extinction. Well, I say the first, the season was called Edge of Extinction and such. Lauren is someone I personally am pretty excited to see play Sequester. She has a very likable personality. I love following her Twitter. I think she's hilarious. She also, in the game, she had kind of a weird emotional roller coaster of a journey where she was kind of outcasted at a time. She was in the power position at a time. She really had to kind of scrap her way along for, I would say, the later portion of the game. And she had an idol for a long time that she never had to play. So Lauren's an interesting person who I think is adaptable. And I can't wait to see how she does. Dante, where do you think, what are Lauren's strengths in this game? What is she going to bring to Sequester?
I think you kind of talked about how she's very likable in terms of social. It's going to, it'll work out good for her. And I think she has a good reputation of someone who survived, like you said, kind of had this trajectory, found an idol, played with Wentworth. That also kind of puts a target on her back, because I think she's a good player. If I were on this cast, I'd be low-key Lauren is pretty good. But she had that underdog moment, so I don't know. She has a lot going on. I think she'll be very interesting.
What say you, AJ? What are your thoughts?
I think Lauren, of like all the Americans, has the highest floor. Like, I don't see a scenario where she's the first American voted out. Like, I think a great trait of Lauren is like she's able to intermingle and get into big groups. Like, remember at first she was like with Kelly and War Dog and stuff. Then they went away. You know what she did? She integrated with the Comma Six. So she's like easily able to get into new positions. And I think something else about Lauren that is like very wordy if you're working with her is like she's a loyal person. Like, she's very loyal. And in a game where like the slogan is trust us, trust no one, loyalty is a big asset that if you find it, you better hold on to it as quickly as possible. So I like the position Lauren is coming into. She's likable. She can roll with the punches. I agree with you, Dante. She is a good strategic threat. Like, my only fear is like in that season, it was her, War Dog, Kelly. People are like, oh, the big strategists are War Dog and Kelly. And I feel like if she's like going to come in and try to be like, look, I'm as good as War Dog and Kelly, she could overplay her hand. But I don't think that's the type of person Lauren is. Lauren's like a chill person. She got a cool personality. So I don't see her going early. I love Lauren on the cast. I'm excited to see her. I feel good.
All right, Andy, what are your thoughts about Lauren O'Connell?
I think Lauren is awesome. Did you guys know she played college soccer?
What?
Right? I think there are a couple of interesting things. Let's start by spitting some facts. Lauren holds 2 very impressive Survivor records. Okay. The first of which, I learned about this like 2 days ago, so this is very exciting. She has the record for the most consecutive days holding on to a hidden immunity idol. Because she found her idol on day 2 and played it on day 36. Mind you, she was voted out day 37, so would have been nice if it was a day longer.
That part, yeah.
But to that effect, she also has the record, and this I think really lends itself well to Sequester. She has the record for the most consecutive tribal councils survived without immunity. So
wow.
So Lauren went to 15 tribal councils in that season, never having individual immunity. So in a game like Sequester, where all of our Survivor people are kind of used to having a couple of rounds off in the early game when their tribe wins, or those of them who are physical players maybe had a night to take a breather. Lauren has never had that. Her entire Survivor experience from beginning until the moment she was voted out was riddled with tribal councils. I think the only tribal that she wasn't at on that season was the Aubrey boot. So, so she knows the pressure of Sequester.
What is Aubrey playing Sequester?
That's a good old question. But
I think that'd be great.
So just statistically, Lauren is probably one of the more well-prepared players. That said, she's also, I believe, the youngest player on this cast.
Probably, yeah.
And this cast trends a little bit older just because we have people who are already like parents, people who played Survivor a long time ago. So the kind of base level bonding might be something a little bit harder for Lauren, but not by no stretch is it something she's incapable of. If you look at her whole alliance on EOE, they were all 10 years older than her. So I think she's got a very high ceiling. I will, full disclosure, I did a draft with some of my Sequester friends yesterday, and I have Lauren on my team. So I definitely think that she's going to do quite well. And also have to remember, she is best friends with Kelly Wentworth, who has a little bit of a track record in Sequester and might have given her a few pointers. So
that's a really great point. Louis, do you think that Lauren's ability to socialize well within the Survivor community here in the US and within the Survivor game is going to be translated? Do you think that she picked up tips from someone like Wentworth or other people who played in the last one?
Absolutely. I don't think there's any chance whatsoever, being that was the tight alliance of 3 the entire game, and 2 of them played Sequester last time. There is 0 chance that she did not get a full briefing from Wentworth and War Dog on how to play the game. It's a little early to do this, but we're going in order. Lauren is my winner pick.
Great.
I do. So I think she has everything that makes for a winner in that. Yeah. I mean, she's very likable. She's strategic. And also I feel like she's not, if you're looking at threats, she's not the one you're looking at, right? She has a tier of people above her, right? Like if you're looking at who are the big names, you have Adam, you have Michele, you have Fischbach, right? She's behind them. And I feel like that will help her a lot. I think having Michele in the same cast as her is a huge benefit, right? Because I think Michele will take a lot of the heat off of Lauren, whereas if Michele wasn't there, Lauren kind of fills that spot and she has a lot more eyes on her. I have very, very high hopes for Lauren. I don't see her going anytime in the early game, and I think she has potential to win it all because I think she is so likable, and I don't think we even saw her full potential on Survivor just because she had Wentworth in front of her, which I feel like she could play the same game here and take it to the next level.
My fear with a Lauren win, because I don't know, is like if you look back at her season, she was like, Kelly, I'm gonna go to the end with you. I know I'm gonna lose with you, but I'm gonna go to the end with you. And then Kelly was voted out. Then she was with Wardall. Wardall was voted out. And then when Chris came back, she was like, you know what, Chris, I want to go to the end with you. And her inability to like read that, oh, Chris will win the game if he gets to the end, is something that like makes me nervous. So I can see her being like latch on to the wrong person and be like, I'm gonna go to the end with you, thinking she can beat them, and then get surprised at the final jury vote. But I think Lauren, a very capable player, she has all the potential in the world. She could win this game, and I would not be shocked. It's just a worry I do have with her.
So AJ, where do you think that she will go? Where do you think that she'll place?
I think she's in top 6, 100%. She's making it far. I don't see her not make it far.
What about you, Dante? Where do you think Lauren will be placing?
I don't know. I'm so I don't know. She's kind of a wild card for me. I could see her going like in an early round, getting stuck in a room or something just randomly. I think she's going to get screwed by a twist. I feel like
Lauren is 100% the type.
I did have it going through my head that she's going to get like wheeled out or something.
Something crazy will take her out.
But I don't know when you vote her out. When do you vote for Lauren?
Well, see, that's exactly what I thought about Chelsea in the last Survivor mini. I was like, when do you get rid of Chelsea? Chelsea and Lauren, even though their games were not the same when they played, have kind of a similar quality to, like, they're both strategic social players. I see Lauren being early jury, maybe being somebody like going in a round where you haven't voted for somebody and you have to vote for somebody that you haven't voted for. Like, I feel like that's kind of a placement I potentially could see Lauren going. But I agree with everyone's assessment. I think that she's a really great, she's not a big target. She's by no means a small target. She's sociable. I really think that she could really integrate herself in with the international crew. And I'm excited to see where she lands. Andy, where do you think that she'll land?
So I want her to be my winner pick, but I don't know if she is. But I truly don't know when you would eliminate Lauren. Like, people are even saying in the history can't repeat round. I don't think so, because I think that in a round like that, she's going to be somebody's close ally who they're going to protect. I would worry about her in like an even votes round or a second highest votes round. But frankly, I don't know when you would get rid of her. I could also see her going out at Final Four, getting dragged. She's going to play Sequester, and she's going to finish somewhere between 1st and 20th.
That is a really good. Great. So Lauren, we have her all over the map, but I think we all feel pretty good about Lauren. Let's move into one of the probably bigger targets in Stephen Fischbach. That's right. Who's going to get the fishy with Stephen this week? Will he get his own fishy? That's what I want to know. Is he gonna play so well that he's gonna get his own fishy? AJ, you are already saying no. Show your work. What are you thinking here?
Fischbach's going home early. Like I have no faith in this man to do well in this type of game. Like, he is so smart, so strategic, and I agree with that 100%. But like, I don't think he can do it. I have no I won't say I have no confidence in him, but like, I think people compare him to Rob and stuff like that. I think there's a difference between Fischbach and Rob. I think, first off, Rob was the biggest known person in his RHAP mini, so people wanted to protect him for a while. I don't think people want to protect Fischbach for a while. Mm-hmm. I think Fischbach has a tendency to be viewed as untrustworthy in these games, and I think that's not a big thing about Sequester is the vibes you give off. And people really go with the vibes, especially in the early rounds. If you don't give off the right vibe or like your video's bad, people are like, I don't like this guy. I don't trust this guy. Let me get him out quickly. He's also the type of person, I can see him being like in a room, being like, let's talk out this vote. And you don't have time to talk out this vote. You got to get that name out there. You got to spread it and make sure your name ain't going out there. So I think fast pace is not the best pace for Steven. So that's why I don't have faith in Steven.
Louis, you are also a podcaster who has gone back to play Sequester in the same way that Fischbach has come back to Survivor and played after podcasting about it. Where do you think his strengths, his weaknesses could be going into a game of Sequester, which is not the game he's used to playing?
Yeah, I agree with AJ 100% in that Fischbach is somebody who's very thought out, very analytical, very likes to take his time. And, we've seen many scenes of him thinking things out and using rocks and the sand and writing things in there to try to figure out. And this game is so quick. I don't know if it plays to his strengths. Combine that with the fact that he probably has the biggest target in the entire cast. I think it's going to be rough for him. Honestly, I'm surprised he wanted to play. It seemed like every time it would be talked about on RHAP, he was he had no idea what it was and really had very little interest in, anything about it. So I'm surprised. I'm excited by it. I would love to see him make a run at it. I think it would be so much fun if he could get late in the game and actually take control of it. I think it would be amazing. It's just going to be very, very hard for him to get there.
Interesting. Andy, what are your thoughts about Steven Fischbach?
My thoughts are that AJ and Louis are both incredibly wrong.
Ooh, okay. Let's do, yeah.
And let's spill some real tea and throw some shade here. AJ, Louis,
yes.
And Beth. Remind me, did you play this mini? I don't remember if it was very popular, but there were these guys on it. I think one of them was named Puya, and there was another guy named Aman. How'd they do in that?
I vaguely recall that.
I don't think they did that,
Did that
well.
happen?
They were
they
really
on that game? I don't know.
Literally the only thing working against Fischbach at this point, working against Steven right now, is that RHAP has a massive reputation in the Sequester community. Now, I've had my own ups and downs with RHAP in my own game, so I have my feelings on that, but that's a separate issue. Within the realm of podcasters playing Sequester, Aman, Taryn, Brent is always a big threat. The other ones, Rob, Puya, they all do phenomenally. You cannot tell me you cannot tell me that Steven Fischbach has not been studying his ass off this week with all of those guys who have played this game and done well. I truly believe that when he is going to enter this game, he is going to know it all. So he is going to be...
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not
sure
I don't know how he's going to execute. I would
like to argue against the main point.
He's a reader. He's very educated on anything that he's passionate for. If Steven wants to do well in this game, he is doing his homework. He does have a target, but I don't think it's the biggest.
I would venture to say that the international players are doing far more research than he is. I think that. I don't think it's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't think he's going into this as okay, I want to win this. I want to prove something to everyone and I'm going to win Sequester, whereas a lot of people are. I think he's probably going on because so many people around him have done it and they say, you should do it. So now he's throwing his hat in the ring and is going to, try it out and have some fun. I don't think this is a thing for Steven where he feels like he needs to prove to anyone that he's going to win. Whereas for a lot of people it is, and I feel like they are going to run laps around him. That's my opinion.
Now, I don't think he's out to try to prove anything, though. I do think that there are a lot of people who kind of fit his archetype who are therefore going to either butt heads or work together. I think that the brilliant move would be for the 6 or 7 quote unquote nerdy white men to work together in this game and just demolish everybody else.
So Dante, what are you?
That podcast. I'm sorry, Beth. Let me just make this point before I forget.
Sure.
Podcasters struggle in Sequester all the time.
Yeah, we did all the last week.
Go back to the RHAP mini. Rob was going to be targeted early. Like, he only survived for a few rounds because his name was on it. But people were gunning for Rob so much when the what was that round? History can't repeat itself round. Mm-hmm. Everyone was like, let's vote for Rob. And they were like, we already voted for Rob. I can't. Like, they tried to get him out so many times. When Alex Kidwell played, Alex Kidwell was out pre-jury. And the what was it? The influencer name, Amon, was like targeted many times early on. And it was, if it wasn't for his like connections with Taryn and Brandon and the others, he would have been out early. Same thing with the Winners at War. Puya and Amon was very well insulated. Like, so many people thought Puya was their number one ally in that game. Like, they were not going to take him out. Now, I think if you have more time to pregame, you can build those things. But I don't think you have time to pregame. That's the problem. It's only 2 days. How much can you do in 2 days?
I found out you can't do much in 2 days. You can ruin your game in 2 days. I found that out. Dante, we have not heard your opinion yet on Stephen Fischbach. Can you settle the score here? What are the thoughts?
The score is 2-1 right now, just so you know.
I'm gonna tie it up. Woo! And I'm not familiar with like his podcast or whatever. But just going off the show, like, he seems like someone who makes it deep and like is very smart. And I feel like, you know, I really valued the smart people when I played. Like, Lou would come to me and be like, Dante, we got to do this. Like, listen to me. And I'd be like, all right, I'm going to listen to that. So I could see some of these, like, you know, some of the girls, maybe some of the internationals being like, let me just follow Fischbach. He's like he has the glasses. I think he's just, you know, knows what he's talking about. I don't know. I see him doing well, but, you know, you guys may have more insight into this podcast.
So where do you back against myself?
The AJ is just going against everybody now. He has to go against himself now.
Like, look at this cast. Shirin is on this cast. Adam's on this cast. Andrew's on this cast. Nick is on this cast. Like, Steven do have some friends in this cast. Like, there are some people that could be looking out for Stephen Fischbach. So if, like, I'm worried about, like, oh, who is he going to look for? Who's his friend stuff? He got friends. I think people will look out for him. Some people might be like, oh, you're smart. You know podcasts and stuff like that. You talk about the show all the time. Let me work with you for a little while. So he could be, like, well insulated and looked towards, but that target, I don't trust it. And his gameplay, I don't trust it.
So where do we think he's placing? Let's get our final thoughts on that.
Beth, break the tie.
Break the tie. My tie. I'm not going to break the tie. I'm going to be even more ambiguous because I see both sides very clearly. I think he's literally going to. I think that both things are going to happen. I think that you're going to have somebody who people try to go after, but those early rounds are so dependent on who is up for elimination. He could just get by not being up for elimination. I think if you have the chance and it's Steven versus a whole bunch of smaller targets, you're going to get rid of Fischbach. Like, that's just how it's going to be. Or you're then going to have people go, why would we get rid of Fischbach now? Because he's a big target. We keep him around. So you have both sides of that. So my impression is that I think he'll actually stick around a little longer than we think. I don't think he's making it to jury, though. I do see him going mid to late pre-jury. That is my my thoughts on that. Where do you guys see him going?
I could get behind that. I think that it's wrong of us to think that Steven's the biggest target going in, because I think in the same way that Lauren's going to be able to kind of hide behind Michele, I'd be a lot more worried about an Adam than Steven. Mm-hmm. And it's track record. You have a lot of runner-ups in this cast. You have a couple of 0-vote finalists. So in those two aspects, I'm a lot less worried about Steven, even if he might make it a little further than I think. He's probably not going to hit jury, but if he does, I'm going to be so thrilled.
Excellent. Any other thoughts on where Steven's going to place each person?
I would love to be proved wrong. Steven, go out there, prove me wrong. Tell me I'm stupid. I have egg on my face. Like, do it. I want you to succeed. But I agree. I think like mid pre-jury, maybe late pre-jury for Steven.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat, despite all of this argument. Like, I don't think I don't think he's going to be like the first couple of boots, but I think he'll be pre-jury. I think mid pre-jury, maybe like 5th or 6th boot.
I just hope he has some fun moments. He's someone who like doesn't take himself seriously. Like, I just remember him like shooting the wrong team and second chances and like scoring for the enemy. And
my favorite thing ever.
Like messing things up or like misplaying his like special vote thing. I don't know. I just go Steven. Yeah. Have fun.
We love Steven. Well, Fischbach, we're rooting for you. Please prove us wrong.
Please.
So the next one up is Shirin. Now, we've already kind of spoken a little bit about Shirin. Louis, what are your thoughts about Shirin going into, ow, I just stubbed my toe, going into this mini?
Shirin is my favorite. I'm so excited to see her play. Like when we talked about, the last time that Sequester was having survivors, as soon as it was announced, Shirin was the first person that I thought of that I wanted to play this game, just because I think she's so adept and this is right in her wheelhouse. And, when she came back and played again, I feel like she kind of got a raw deal and we didn't get to see her actually play. And I just feel like she's someone who will come in ready to go, who will have a plan, who will make sure she knows exactly what she's doing from moment one. I think she's used to games like this. She's played games like this, online games. She's a poker player. Like, I think her odds of getting LOSs are high. I think I cannot speak enough. Yeah, exactly. She's played orgs. Like, I think this is the perfect game for her. I worry that, I think she'll go a long way. I worry that she will be a big threat at the end and people will realize it because she will be so good. Just to add on the fact that she's so good, I think she's probably the most knowledgeable of the entire cast about in terms of the Americans, about international survivors. Like, she's watched a ton of them. She knows who she's playing with. Like, I cannot say enough about Shirin. I'm so excited to watch her play. I don't think she'll win, but I think she's going to go to the end and probably get kicked off because she is such a threat pre-final two.
Dante, what are your thoughts about Shirin?
Yeah, I agree with Louis. I think I could see her getting along with Lisa and some of the other I kind of just get vibes that she's gonna do a female thing. And she also strikes me as someone who's very she gives me almost charisma vibes where we're not really expecting her to come in and be this beast, and I think she might be. I think she's just gonna come in aggressive, especially because her last finish, in the second chances wasn't great. So she feels probably I'm gonna come in here and show you guys I'm a boss. So that's what I expect, but I don't know.
AJ, you're nodding your head. What are your thoughts? It sounds like you agree with Dante.
I agree with 100% of what Dante said. I agree with what Louis says. I think a great thing that Shirin got going for her is that she's not known for being a strategic threat. She's known for her situation being bullied on her season. She was this big character and stuff like that, but not the best strategic person. Shirin's smart as get out. Shirin is scary. Like Karishma, she also wasn't known for being a strategic threat. Y'all let Shirin get through, that's going to be to your downfall. Shirin is going to eat you and tear you up, and I'm excited to watch her do it to y'all. I'm excited.
Andy, conversely, I'm sensing a little smirk here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you guys are all completely off base. Well, I agree with a lot of what Louis said, but I think everything that Louis listed off about Shirin, how she's done orgs and she studies and she's a huge fan, I think all of those reasons are reasons that she is in trouble coming in. The feeling I'm getting right now is that Shirin and Adam are going to be Shirin and Spencer. That's my analogy that I'm drawing here. I think that even more so than the raw deal that she got in Worlds Apart and then the early boot in Cambodia, Shirin, in my estimation, is probably the best known female superfan in 40 seasons of Survivor. If you have to think of a woman superfan who came in and just was here for the experience in everything that it represents, that's Shirin.
Yeah. Well, I feel like she became an archetype after her, right? After her, we had Aubrey, right? We had Kellen, we had Victoria, we had Hannah. She started that. It was not a thing prior to her, and after her, it became a trend that this type is cast on every Survivor.
Right.
One thing. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and it's just that. I think that she is coming in with a much bigger target than people realize. I think she's smart as hell. I think a lot of people realize just how smart she is. And that in a cast of Survivor players where we're not necessarily looking to keep the good players around to put on a good show, she's in trouble early.
See, I agree with that to a certain extent. I also think that she was really not given an opportunity to show her social chops in either game that she played. The first one, obviously, she was really like picked on and bullied, honestly, in her season from the start. And then the second one, I mean, she got into kind of a powerful alliance and then everyone just turned on them. So she really wasn't able to like show us what her social chops are. Where I'm nervous is I don't believe she's very big in the US Survivor network, like they're in the community. So I don't know how she would be with the domestic, like the US players. I do agree with Louie. I feel like she could be someone who might potentially work with some international players if she's watched those seasons. But I also I don't feel like people are immediately going to go for Shirin, and nor do I think they really should. I think that she could be a real asset to a lot of people's games in the very beginning. So I'm interested to see like where and how people decide to interact with her and like where they decide they want to get her out.
I know I like compared her to like, and we have been comparing her to Karishma and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But like maybe to Annie's defense and stuff like that, she could be more of a PG, like when she played. Like I feel like MPG had a similar gameplay, similar storyline in Survivor. Her China being ousted early, and then in Second Chances going out early because the bracelet. But like, and PG's also like a big org person and stuff like that. I think something that will go into Shirin's favor is she's aggressive. Like she's social, but she's aggressive. Like she's not going to like sit around like y'all going to be like, well maybe we should do this, that. She's going to be like, no, it's going to be CPay. We got to do CPay.
You better remember, she was a white collar for a reason. She
Yahoo
is a boss. Yeah, she is an executive. She is a boss. She is like, I think she started her own company when she was young. Like she has.
Didn't she like help create Google Calendar or something?
Yeah, she was in charge of Google Calendars when she played Survivor. I don't know if she still is, but if she is, she could like mess with everyone's alarm settings and make them just miss the start of the game.
All by default, she wins. No,
oh my God.
No. But no, Shirin obviously like she has a lot to offer in this game, so I'm excited to see her and where she goes. So where do we think that she'll place?
She's gonna go early.
Andy says early.
She's either going to be one of the first American boots, or she's going to go out on a safety chain.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
That would break my heart. I'm saying I'm going far higher than that. I'm saying she goes out in 5th place when people realize that they can't have her go to the end.
That's Louie. That's exactly where I was going to put her. Was in that the Rob Sester. The 5th place is where I say you get out the person that you can't beat. So that's the Rob Sesternino. That's the the.
I've come in 5th place.
See, it's the Andy spot. I've gotten 5th place before. I'm just saying.
Yes, no, the 5th place club.
So I see her being a part of that. That's right. Dante, do you believe that she'll be another member of the 5th place club?
I would welcome her with open arms to the club. I don't know. I'm so torn with my Yahoo executive. I feel like she might go early. Sorry, Shirin.
AJ, what are your thoughts? Where do you think she's going?
When Andy said that he can see her going out in the safety chain round, I was like, oh crap, she sure can go out in the safety chain round. Like that's scary. Like there are some times, like going into this, I thought she has a high likelihood of being the person dragged. Like that's what I thought she could go, but I think she's like either middle of the road or like she could go out on safety chain.
Interesting. Well, Shirin, we're all rooting for you as well. We'll move on to Aaron Meredith, who was on Island of the Idols this past fall. Andy, what are your thoughts going into coming off of a fresher season of Survivor to see Aaron play some Sequester?
I think the worst thing about Aaron's chances are that he is playing with Missy. I think I'm fully picturing Aaron and Missy as a duo right now, and I think that is the biggest detriment to his game. I do think that like Alec, Aaron benefits from the lack of physical comps. Like knowing that he can't be a challenge threat, his strategic prowess can really shine. And Aaron was pretty strong strategically, even though he was on the wrong side of the very first vote in IOI. Sure. I think he really bounced back very well from that, and then made a decently deep run. And then the reason that he got booted was because he was good at challenges. So do you vote Aaron out for a strategic reason? I don't really know, except for the fact that Missy's there.
I would like to push back on you, Andy. Andy, I'm not trying to push back with you all the time, but you just have incorrect opinions. I think coming in with a pair is great. Like, I feel like if you can come in a pair, do it. Don't like look at winners at war, because I came in with a pair and that did not work out for me. But
because your pair was paired with like 6 other people.
Exactly. That's why it didn't work for me. They was like, she's too close to AJ. I want to be winners number 1. But you know, c'est la vie. I feel like more times than not, pairs do great in this game. Like Taryn and Amon both made a deep run. Puya and Liana both made a deep run. I feel like always if you're in a pair, y'all are either like, at least one of y'all are making the jury, if not both of y'all, because either people want to gravitate to you because you're 2 votes, or they're scared to say your name in front of your other pair. And in Sequester, you can't control who's in the room with you. Right. So you could be like, want to target Aaron, but Missy's in the room. And you're like, oh, I don't want to say it with Missy in the room. And you got to be bold and say it with Missy's in the room. But I don't know if these people realize that they're going to have to do that.
I think that the mindset of a Survivor player, and we saw this when we could compare the first Survivor mini to the Big Brother mini. I think the mindset of a Survivor player is much less tentative when it comes to stuff like that. I think that Aaron could do very well. I don't see Aaron and Missy doing
I don't think Aaron's doing well. I don't think he's doing well.
Okay, well, Aaron or Missy is going early, if not both of them.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think Aaron's the one that's going to go early up between the 2. But
what were you pushing back on?
On your duos thing, because there's other duos in here that I think will do well together.
I think there's another duo that's going to do much better than the 2 of them.
Yeah.
So Dante, what do you think? Where do you fall into? As I say, fall, looks like your computer was falling. So yeah. No, you're fine. You're fine. Where do you think Aaron is going to place? Where do you think his strengths are coming into this game?
I'm trying to like look at him and just imagine like confronting this guy in Sequester. I feel like he. If he's smart, he'll separate with Missy and do the separate room thing and just not even check in with her. Don't waste time because you know that she's like already on your side. So I feel like with them splitting, they could run the American side because I can see them kind of being like, let's stay American strong. And then within that, they have their pair. Mm-hmm. So I see them like in a power position starting, but I could totally see it just crumbling and falling apart. So I don't know. He doesn't. He didn't strike me as a crazy game player in his game, but I don't him. So, sorry.
He was like Louis. He was like someone who wanted to have control, wanted to like run the votes and stuff like that. That's a big thing that got him in trouble was because of how much control he wanted to have. But that's
true. So Louis, Aaron and Missy, who we'll talk about next, are both coming in having had quite a few of their castmates play the last Sequester mini. We talked a little bit about how Lauren had 2 of her closest allies from her season talk with her, even though Rick Devens was also in that mini as well. Do you think that Aaron and Missy might have a leg up in terms of having sound strategy, having talked to some of their previous castmates?
It's a good question because I'm not sure, how close that cast is. But sure. I think
he's close with Bryce.
Yeah, well, because that's the thing. I do think, and that was kind of going to be my point, is that when I was talking before about Steven, that I don't think he feels like he needs to prove anything. I think Aaron's probably someone who does. And I would not be surprised if Aaron's not doing a lot of homework. Like he really is, like, even though we didn't see it much on his Survivor season, he was a super fan. He's someone who had wanted and tried to play Survivor for a long time. Like he was well versed in the game. It was just that he was too abrasive and he was too over the top in everything he did. And he was also too big of a challenge threat, which he doesn't have to worry about this time. I think Aaron's somebody who's going to play. I mean, he may fall into the same trap of playing too hard, too fast, but I do think he's going to be geared up and ready to go for this game more so than a lot of other people. I don't hate his chances probably as much as the rest of the group. I don't think he'll get close to the end, but I think I think he could do a decent job because he will be prepared going in.
My personal feelings on Aaron are I think that the edit in Survivor made him seem like a very aggressive and assertive player. If we are able to see that play out here, I worry about his chances making it past the first couple of rounds. I think that he has a presence about him that could potentially make people say, we got to get him out as soon as we can, especially if they feel like he's tied to Missy or somebody like that. So that's somebody I'm worried about, but I also could see him making it pretty far into this game as well, whether he makes it to jury or right before the jury, I don't know. He's somebody I really have a question mark on. I think I solidly think of him as a pre-jury person, but I would love for him to prove me wrong. And I think that he had a lot of talent. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to bring.
Now I will also say that Sequester is a game that rewards aggression. So
true.
You can be an aggressive player, and because of the twist next round, you can't be targeted. Or the twist after that, you can't be targeted. So I think like Sequester awards his type of gameplay, if that is his type, if that's how he's going to play. But like with that being said, there's like a lot of aggressive people on here. He's not the only
he's not
player.
the only one. So that's what I'm excited about. Now, guys, in the interest of time, since it's taken us almost an hour to go through 5 people.
Oh my God.
Which I think is great. I'm going to suggest that when we do our interviews, or not interviews, our overviews of them, that we try to also say where we're going to place them, and that way we can each say our piece and then move on to the next one. Otherwise, I think we would be here almost as long as the Winners at War recap show and reunion show on Podquester, which I believe is still going on, right?
It never ended. It'll be continued one day.
Because clearly, guys, we have a beautiful cast of amazing people here that we want to be able to talk about them extensively, but we've got so many beautiful opinions. We'll be able to share them in there. So let's move on to Missy. Missy, I am stoked to see Missy come out. She is, in my opinion, the epitome of that season's assertive gameplay. She is strong, independent, knows strategically what to do to make moves. She can read people really well. I really think that she has the chops to be able to move through this game. I think that I think it was a couple of you had said that Aaron would go before Missy if they were a pair. I have to agree with that. I think that Missy is somebody that I could absolutely see making it to jury. I'm interested to see how well she navigates the twists. Louis, what are your thoughts on Missy and her adaptability in the game?
Missy also falls into the category of people that I think will feel that they have something to prove, right? Like, she's such a huge character. She loves Survivor so much. Odds are, just because of the situation, I don't know if she'll ever get the chance to play again.
Which is a shame.
Yeah, which is a shame. And I feel like she will take this more seriously than anybody else. Like, if I had to bet, like, she is the most serious about winning Sequester. And I think the fact that she has Aaron in the game will help her, because I do think we all agree that I think Aaron will probably go before her, and she can kind of use him as a shield, because I think they're both going to play hard, but I think she'll play smarter and harder, whereas Aaron will just play hard, and he'll be someone who likely can be dragged, and I think Missy's too smart for that. I think she's going to do really well. I do think, because she has that sense of urgency, I think she's going to go in and she's not going to be afraid to say names. She's not going to be afraid to call people out. If I had to guess, I think she's endgame. I think she's probably another person that falls into a similar position of Shirin. People will be afraid to let her get to the end. If I'm putting a number on it, I'm going to say 4th place.
I was about to say the same thing, Louis. Oh my God, great minds.
AJ, why don't you elaborate? What are your? Do you have any other thoughts that you can share on?
I think she's Aaron, but better. Like, just straight up, just straight up. I feel like people are like also going to be more willing to work with Missy, I think something about their season is Missy was more willing to like reach out to people Aaron was not willing to reach out. She was like, listen, I know we haven't been on the best of terms, but like, let's not hold that against us. Let's work together. And I think that's a big thing in Sequester. Like, just because y'all two people were going at it a round or two before, don't mean y'all can't work together now. Like, now you need each other, so let's go work together for each other. And I think she is going to play the heck out of this game. I think she's got some friends on the jury. She's probably like doing her homework and stuff like that. I think she's going to play harder. And I think she does. And because she has a shield, she is able to play harder with less consequences. That's my opinion. But I think by the time she gets to the end, people are like, oh, we can't get Missy. Missy can't go to the end. She's going to win. So that's why she's getting fourth. But I love Missy. I'm excited to see her play. I think she's going to play hard. I'm ready.
Andy, what are your thoughts on Missy?
You guys are too damn nice. So I see a lot of myself in this cast. Like I feel like a lot of the players are similar archetypes to what I think I would be if I were on Survivor. And to that end, I'm thinking that the way that this game is going to pan out is going to be similar to how I would, or my predictions are based on how I feel like I would want to play Survivor with these people. There is no way on God's green earth, if I ever find myself on a season of Survivor with Missy, that she would want to work with me. I know that right away. I'm sure that Missy could read me like a book. She could tell that I'm in it for myself. I'm probably not going to be loyal to her as long as she wants me to, and she would be done with me. And therefore, my best move would be to go after her. And I think that a lot of people on this cast, it is in their best interest to target her soon. The more that I've thought about it, I actually think it makes sense to take out Missy before Aaron. Not the least of which, I'm going to yield my time after this. If we believe in destiny, what is Aaron's son's name?
Oh,
Anyway.
I can't remember.
No.
It's on his socks. What is
I
it
know,
called?
but I can't remember.
Tell us, Dante.
I don't know.
It's Kellen.
Kellen? It's Kellen.
His son's name is Kellen. So I don't know what that means in the Sequesterverse, but I am going to say that Missy is going to go pre-jury. We're all going to be very sad when it happens, but I do not see her going far in this game, and I yield my time.
There we go. Dante, what are your thoughts?
I think I'm with Andy. I feel like I would take out Missy because she came across in her season as an aggressor, as someone who would break their promise or like flip-flop alliances. And, I really like to be, honest, even though I told a few lies on my game. But, I think her like reputation might precede her. So I see her going early along with everyone else. But I love her. I hope she fights. I imagine she will. And who knows?
Well, I'm excited to see Missy fight as well because I think that she has a lot of grit, and I can't wait to see her adapt her way through the game. The next person we have is from season 40, Winners at War, not the Sequester season, Winners at War. We have Adam Klein coming back. Louis, do you want to kick us off about Adam?
I do. I mean, I'm thrilled to see him play. I know how badly he wanted to play last time, and it's nice to see that he gets to do it. I mean, of the survivors, he is clearly the biggest Sequester fan that we know of that talks about it, at least. I mean, he's been tweeting about it for ages, so it's great to see him play this game. I have the same question for 3 of the next 4 players in that I feel like they're the biggest names in the cast, and it's kind of like a Rick Devens situation where when you have someone that's that big of a name coming into a game like this, do you target them early just for their name, right? Like Adam's going to want to play. He's going to want to be scrappy. He's going to want to make big moves. I just wonder if he'll even be able to get out of the gate because people are going to be so wary of him and what his usual plans are. And just watching him at Winners at War, like there's a lot of people here that probably, there's members of the cast have never seen them. Everybody has seen Adam. Everybody has seen Michele. Everybody knows their game. Everybody saw them last season. So I worry for Adam's chances. I don't think he'll go at the very beginning. I think he's wily enough to survive a bit, but if I had to guess, I do think he's going to be like late pre-jury.
Dante, what are your thoughts on Adam Klein?
I agree with Louis. I hate to be that person. I think that the winners have a target, right? Like, I don't want another winner coming in and playing and potentially re-winning. I could almost see this being like, remember All Stars, where it was like, you already won your mill, get out. So I could see that happening. And then also he was just on his season, his return season. So I don't see him lasting in this group. But I think he's funny. I love when he tried to play the idol that was like a decoration. I hope he gives us some laughs.
Which, by the way, that was probably because he watched South Africa and saw that was something that happened on that on the season. So he is very well versed in the international Survivor Series as well. So I'm inclined to believe that you guys are right. I see him going in pre-jury for sure. I really don't want him to. I would love for him to go far, but I think that he's somebody that will have a lot of connections, or would have the ability to make a lot of connections. But whether those connections want to be connected to him or not, that's the question I have. So that's where my thoughts are on him. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it pains me to think that there's someone out there who's a bigger Survivor superfan than I am, and unfortunately, I think that's Adam. I mean, the dude's got it all. Like he's been dreaming about going on this show forever. He goes on, he wins, he comes back, becomes this like amazing character. He and his girlfriend are relationship goals. Like, I don't care how he does in Sequester. Like, I see a lot of myself in him. This is now wishful thinking. Like the one season of Survivor that I kind of made it a little ways into the application process was MVGX, and he took my spot. So there's a little bit of one-sided saltiness towards this guy. I would love to see Adam do well. I don't see how it happens, but I also was so sure he was going to go pre-merge in season 40. So I don't know.
That is true. He's got a lot of grit as well. He's able to get himself out of tough spots. AJ, you've had some head nodding, some head shaking along this way. What are your thoughts on Adam?
Don't sleep on Adam Klein, y'all. Like, let me tell you something. Going into his first season, Millennials vs. Gen X, they was like, who is this kid? This kid is a fish out of water. He's in over his head. He's going to be out pre-jury. Look at him. He wins the game. Come back for winners and worders, like, Adam's out early. He's probably going to be the first person voted out of this tribe. He makes it into the merge. Like, Adam lives on, like, proving y'all folks wrong. Like, he is scrappy and all that stuff. And the game he plays, it's like there are some people who play Survivor and the game does not translate well to Sequester. His game does translate well to Sequester. Like, he is scrappy and he has been watching. Now, I know what happened to Marcus, which is a devastation last night, being in a group of people who didn't know what was happening. RIP to Marcus. He's a real one. But I think Adam is a person who knows the twist, knows how to work his way through it, and he knows the international people. There are some people on this cast that's going to be like, America strong. Adam ain't going to be one of those people. If I was those international people, I'd be like, you know what, Adam, I'm hitching my wagon to you because you're someone who's going to be willing to work with me. And I think he's going pre-jury.
All right. Well, time out. On how he's like, we're all underestimating him, and then you end with pre-jury.
I feel like that's been a running theme today. We fight over everyone, and then we all agree on their finish spot.
King moves there. I think we all obviously want to see Adam go far, and hopefully he does. But the other winner that we need to talk about today is Michele Fitzgerald. Louis, do you think Michele should try a book out of Louis's book, or a page out of Louis's book, and maybe come in as Michael Fitzgerald? Do you think that might help a little bit here?
It gotta be something. I mean, I'm curious as to where this cast goes, because the first Survivor cast for Sequester took it so seriously, and they pre-gamed so hard, and they were so intent on not caring about feelings and really, really just wanting to win. I don't get the same vibe with this group. I think it is more that they're there to have fun. They're more there for charity and that sort of thing. So I wonder if anybody would take that move. With Rick Devens, he was a target. They didn't care, right? He was the biggest name, and they didn't care. They were willing to vote him out from moment one. They didn't care what the fans thought. I'm not sure that this group is going to feel that same way, in that they know so many people are there to watch Michele, and so many people love Michele so much that they're going to be willing to say, we don't care, we're voting her out from moment one, she's already a target. I feel like this group is going to be more willing to play towards the fans, especially the international group, and they're going to let Michele go for a while just because they don't want to ruffle any feathers and they don't want to, they don't want the fans to be upset. That being said, I don't know that this is a game that's best for Michelle's skills. I don't know. She's a very social player, but I don't know if she's going to have that intensity to immediately start calling out names and start, shouting out and like doing that kind of aggressive move making from the very beginning, which may get her into a bit of trouble. I think, if I had to guess, I would say she'll make the jury, but I would say like very, very early jury.
AJ, it looks like you have some thoughts.
Don't sleep on Michele Fitzgerald.
Wait, time out. Is this going to end with, but she's going pre-jury?
We'll get there. But like Michele, she is social and lovely and all that stuff. She's a great person. I love Michele. Michele is the best. PG Secret Hitler game. Did y'all watch that shit? This girl is feisty as fuck. Like you saw her during.
It's fine. You can swear. It's fine.
I got scared. But she is so feisty. Like she will not back down. She will fight you tooth and nail. She don't give a crap about who you are. She will like throw out names. She'd be like, no, it's this person. We gotta do this person. And she will call y'all idiots when that person makes it to the end. Like Michele do not care. She is a person. And like also she's
from New Jersey.
Sorry. Don't sleep on no New Jersey folks. And also there are people from the international things that loves Michele, that stands on Twitter. They stand her. They tweet about how much they love Michele. Michele is a lovable person within the community. So I don't see them getting her out early. I think she will make the jury. I think she's like early jury though. But like don't sleep on Michele. Michele can play. She's here to play. She's feisty. And I think don't sleep on her. Don't sleep on her.
All right. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Louis, I hope you're wrong. Because, yeah, sure, we're here to have fun and raise some money for charity and whatever, but the best games of Sequester are the ones where the players are out for blood and ready to stomp on some feelings and, like, make each other's babies cry. Like,
oh my god,
that is where Sequester is at its best. And if I know anything about Survivor players and their level of insanity, if I know coming in that Michele is the fan favorite and that when Michele gets voted out, the audience will riot, which I fully think will happen. If I'm in that position as a player, I'm like, I want Michele out because I want the fans to love me that much. I'm not doing anything for the people who are just watching along. I'm playing this game to win it. And Michele has I'm not going to say by far just because of average days played, but she has one of the best track records and the best average finish of anybody on this cast. You've got to be scared of Michele. And I don't think that any of these players give a damn about how much people like her in the community. I think she's in trouble. I love her. I think she's great. Let her prove me wrong. Michele, you're doomed.
Dante, what are your thoughts on Michele and how well she's going to be able to navigate the game?
I don't think she's doomed. I think there's going to be people who really enjoyed her on Winners at War and are going to want to play with her because that's what I would want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, my starting room was like, girl, I want to play with you. You're favorite. Like, I want to be with the favorite. Who wants to go against the favorite? Like, I was a total sellout. I'm like, I'm going to go with popular people.
I want to be the favorite.
So that's right. And I get that. But I think, yeah, I think I can see her getting a lot of allies really quick right off the bat, just because she's already on this high, and you got to ride the high. You know, if Sequester gods give you popularity in the beginning, I think that's a blessing. So I think she's going to do great.
I think Michelle's in such a weird position because I do feel like while she is a big target, I feel like people are still going to underestimate her, even though there's no reason why you should. We just watched her navigate away with her back up against the wall, be scrappy, create the relationships that she needed to in the beginning of the game that benefited her to the end of the game. Whether they be on the jury, whether they be Natalie, who like came back and was able to rekindle that alliance. I think that she's somebody that besides like the scrappiness, the feistiness that we've been able to say, I really think that she's somebody that people gravitate towards. We saw that with her first season in Ko Rong, and I am excited to see her play Sequester. I think that she will make it to jury, but I think that she will be an earlier jury boot, like an 8th place person. That's my thinking with her. But yeah, I'm excited to see. We have 2 winners coming back for the US version. So let's see.
2 of my favorite winners, by the way. I love them.
Ooh.
2 fantastic winners, absolutely.
Absolutely. Back-to-back
2
winners.
underrated winners.
Oh.
What happened? 32-33.
I said, yep, back-to-back winners. All right. So now we're going to go into my winner pick, which is Albert.
Ooh.
I am so happy to have Albert here. I don't know if anybody watched Podquester like a month ago when we were doing our dream people of who would play and before the cast was released, but I was really big on Albert. I might have accidentally a few times called him Alfred because I'm that dumb. If anybody remembers, I bring the dumb bitch energy. That is what I do.
Yeah.
But no, Albert is in my opinion is one of the best players to not win the game, and he's not somebody that people would normally think of for that role. I think that he really knew how to navigate the game in South Pacific, and he would have made moves that I think would have benefited his game. It would not have benefited Sophie's game, which is why they didn't happen. But he was willing to make moves, and he wanted to do them earlier. He's somebody that wanted to go after targets earlier than they needed to, and that's the kind of energy I'm interested to see how he brings it to Sequester. Is he somebody? I mean, if you've listened to RHAP, he's been a guest a few times. He can really talk about game theory. He can really talk about Survivor. He is incredibly intelligent. Like, I think that he's going to bring a social aspect to the game that people aren't expecting, in addition to social strategy. And like I said, he is my winner pick. I'm excited to see Albert. Dante, what are your thoughts on Albert coming in?
All right. Well, you swayed me in a positive direction because my initial response is just like not a fan. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. South Pacific wasn't a fave season. It was like this like religious cult weird vibe that I didn't like. And all I remember of Albert was like telling people like, I'm gonna save you, I'm gonna mess things up, and then he didn't, and then they were mad.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope he, like hearing that he has all this game theory and like he's obviously very smart, and sometimes playing it safe is the smart way. I mean, it's a show, but like you also want to get to the end. So like I wouldn't just like mess up my 5 if my 5 was like plowing through. So yeah, I'm excited to see him like potentially do the stuff that he was talking about in South Pacific.
I think without having a Sophie here to put stops to his plans, he might actually get to pull some triggers on some things. Andy, what do you think about it?
I'm kind of conflicted on Albert. On the one hand, I mean, South Pacific is by far my least favorite season of U.S. Survivor because of the cult.
Yep.
But that's not Albert's fault. He didn't do that. And in fact, he navigated the cause of that better than anybody because he got the cause of that to give him an immunity necklace. So I think that on its own is a move that is highly underrated. Albert was out the door at final whatever number it is with Redemption Island.
Yeah.
So he's got a resume. I love his Twitter handle.
What is it?
It's a 0 vote finalist.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
So he's very aware of his position in Survivor lore. Like, he knows he's a dude who got no votes. And after watching Sophie on Winners at War, we now realize that part of why Albert got no votes is because he was playing with one of the best Survivor players of all time.
Period. And Coach.
Period.
And Coach was there too.
I'm Coach.
So I think that Albert's got a good shot. The problem that I'm having now is we're going player by player by player, and we're like, oh, they're going to do really well. And even if they don't do well, I really want them to. We've still only gone through 9 out of 20 players. I don't know where everyone's going to finish because some of these people that we think are awesome have to go out early.
Absolutely.
I don't know when you vote Albert out. Like, I don't target him in the beginning. I don't really target him at the end. But I also don't think he's going to win, so he's going to play Sequester. That is my prediction.
There we go. Louis, what do you think?
Beth, you swayed me as well. My hopes were not as high for Albert. I feel like of the American cast, he's the biggest question mark for me. My fear for him would be that, this is separated versus US versus international. It's going to be a question of how serious these groups take that. But if we go to start out and it's very much US against international, if you're looking at the international players and they're trying to decide who to target first, I feel like Albert's a very safe person to target first, right? Like he's someone that a name that you can agree on that's not going to ruffle a ton of feathers. He doesn't have many connections. He's not a big name. Going through all of them, I feel like he's the one that I would think immediately, let's just vote. Let's all try to get together and vote out Albert. So it's just going to be a question of if he can get past that. He's a smart player. So I do think if he's able to maneuver past those early rounds, he has some longevity, but I think he's going to be a target early on.
All right. AJ.
So it was either today or last night. I did a draft with Puya for this cast. Albert went dead last. And he did not go drafted, and I got Albert. And I don't have faith in Albert. Like, I think Albert is smart. He's very smart. Yes, he is extremely smart. And he wanted to make these big moves and stuff like that, but Sophie was the reason to stop it. Listen, Albert was not liked on this cast, and period. And that was without him doing all the backstabbing and screwing people over that Sophie wanted him to do. So if you would add that into it, Albert was not going to win that game. And I feel like people, again, the social game in Sequester, very underrated. You have to have people want to vote for you to win. I don't know if Albert's the type of person who people will want to vote for him to win. He just gives off that smarmy, sneezy, car salesman vibe and stuff like that. And him, I think he could be fun. I think he's going to be doing some crazy crap. He's going to just be in a room with, let me think who. He's going to be in a room with Nick and Dylan and be like, you know what? Let's get Andrea out. And then they're going to be like, whoa, they're getting Andrea out on the even vote round. Albert's that type of person. We're going to see big moves from him. I don't think he can win the game. So, and I think that's my biggest issue. And also, what Louis was saying, he could be a consistent vote. He's the person people can rally around and be like, hey, let's all vote Albert out. So I don't have high winner potentials for Albert. I think there is a good chance he goes home early. I think he's someone else who could go home in the safety chain round. I can see him getting dragged. I don't have faith in Albert. I think he's going early. Personally.
Well, listen, I'm here for high risk, high reward. I will maintain that Albert is a winner pick for me, and I have high faith in his abilities. Let's talk about the last American person, Andrea, who is, I think, played, 3 times now in Survivor? So we're about to get dose number 4 in a smaller scale. Andy, what do you think about Andrea?
Andrea is awesome. I feel like I say that about everybody. I love Andrea. I think she's great. Every time she plays Survivor, she gets better. And I think that that's something that needs to be accounted for. Even though her finish position has been worse each time. She came in 5th, then she came in 7th, then she came in 8th. Her game improves consistently.
And with her last game, she got screwed over by Sarah and Sari, 2 of the best players to ever enter the game. So
yeah, well, who's voted her out before? Boston Rob screwed her over twice. And then Cochran, who is arguably one of the most knowledgeable players ever. And then Queen Sari. And I don't even throw the word queen around lightly. That's a big deal for me. I don't use the word queen. I don't use the word icon. That's not a thing. But Andrea is damn close to both of those. So I am rooting for Andrea. I think that Andrea benefits a lot from having Michele on this cast. Because I've been at events where Andrea and Michele were there. I always gravitate towards Andrea before I gravitate towards Michele. I've never actually had a conversation with either of them. But when I'm in a room with both of them, I want to meet Andrea. So I'm hoping that if enough people are going to fanboy out like I am, I think that Andrea's got a decent chance at going a little ways. She's a very consistent Survivor performer. She always is on the jury. She's the only person who's played 3 times and been on the jury all 3 times. So let's do that one more. Also the only person to win individual immunity in 3 seasons, but that does nothing for her here.
Dante, what are your thoughts on Andrea and her chances in the game?
not an Andrea fan. Like, is that bad?
Yes, it is.
Every time she comes back, I'm just like, girl, why? Okay, I might be salty because she went for my girl Brenda. So like my immediate thought to her is just like when Brenda was like, "You're like a sneaky girl." I'm like, "Yeah, you are, girl." I don't know.
Well, do you think that sneaky girl is gonna be able to sneak her way through Sequester?
Listen, she lives in New York. I saw her on the subway one time. So, anyone from New York knows how to navigate and, turn on that bitch mode if you need to get through the subway. So I don't know. Maybe she'll do great. She's just not one of the names I'm like, I don't know. Sorry, Andrea. Don't hate me.
Louis, what are your thoughts on Andrea and her chances in the game?
My first thought is social. Like, I feel like she, and kind of like how Andy said, I think people do gravitate towards. She has kind of that aura about her that people will want to work with her. And she's so scrappy, right? Like, I feel like she will work as hard as she can. And she may not come into this game knowing all about it and having, read about it and researched about it, but I feel like she'll pick it up quick. And I feel like what I said about Michele, that I don't know if it favored her gameplay. I feel like this favors Andrea's gameplay. I feel like this is exactly the kind of game that is catered towards Andrea, because I feel like she will have that pace of she's used to fighting for her life, right? She's used to in these games having to, with her back against the wall, fight as hard as she can and make those moves, strategic moves really quickly. So I have high hopes for Andrea. I don't know necessarily that she's end game, but I do think that she has the chance to make right around early jury.
AJ, what are your thoughts on Andrea's chances in this game?
She's my winner pick. I love Andrea's odds. Like, I agree with Andy. Every time she plays, she just gets better. And like, she's like comes so smart. Like, people just love working with Andrea. People like gravitates towards Andrea. So that social, that aura, like Andrea's not going to get targeted early. If you want to target big threats, you're targeting Michele, you're targeting Steven, you're targeting Adam. Then you can maybe throw Andrea in there. But like, I think by the time they get to Andrea, they're going to be like on to bigger fish to fry, or they're like, oh, I like Andrea, or for some reason they're not going to go for Andrea. And also, Andrea's bold. She ain't scared to do moves. She ain't scared to make moves. Like, people are going to be like, I don't know. She's going to be like, bump it. We're taking Nick out tonight. We're taking out Nick.
See you never.
Bye, Nick. And I think like she is social. She's bold. She's not afraid. And I think she's probably someone of this cast I think is more likely to do their homework going into this. Mm-hmm. So even though I don't know, she watched a lot of Sequester beforehand. I think like the last few days since she signed in, she was like, okay, let me watch some of these minis. She probably watched last night's mini. She might be watching the night's minis and stuff like that. She's probably doing her homework. And like, people gravitates towards Andrea, like you said. I think she got a great case to win. And I also think even though she's bold, she's not the most aggressive person on the field. So she can't slip into the under the radar situation where you could forget about her. And then you're at final 5 and you're like, oh no, there are like 3 big threats. And Andrea's the third of the 3, so that's what gets her to the final 2 and makes her win. That's what I think is going to happen with Andrea.
I think Andrea's a great social player, like we've said. I worry that she's so social that people will feel betrayed by her and therefore go after her. If that's, I feel like we see that a lot, where the people feel like whether she gets dragged out or something like that, where people say, oh, Andrea was a part of that, I thought she was with me. Or I think people will be more likely with a personality like Andrea to be saltier in the moment. And this isn't Survivor or Big Brother where you have time to get over your feelings. What you feel in that moment impacts how you're going to vote, how you're going to choose people to drag and all that kind of stuff. So that is where my thoughts are on Andrea. I do think that she is a great player, but I'm not as high on her, guys. I think that she's like middle of pre-jury. I think she's like 5th or 6th out.
You and Dr. So dead to me. I don't want to hear from y'all ever again.
I just think it's honestly because if you start looking at the cast over here, she's going to be an easy person to realize that she is the glue holding a lot of people together. And if you're not with her, you need to get her out. And that's what my thinking would be.
I could also see her being very like America strong. Like, we need to stick together, guys. We need to all go to the end. We need to get out the international people. Like, looking at that group and who would be on that side, I feel like Andrea is one of them who's going to try to keep the U.S. survivors together.
Yeah, I can see that. All right. So we have the 10 international players up next. And just so everybody knows, I have a hard out at 8 o'clock. So we have to do them in 45 minutes. So we're going to make these quicker, which will actually be probably quicker anyway, just because I don't have much to add to these players at all. But we're going to start off with Dylan Conrad. So who wants to start off by talking about Dylan?
I know one fact. Oh, go AJ.
I think there's a good chance Dylan is the first one out.
Oh, okay.
Like his first New Zealand game, he was not trusted by his tribe. He was not liked by his tribe. Like, they tried to get him out like a couple times. He went home pre-jury against that tribe. And also, it wasn't like a recent thing, so people might forget he even played. And look what happened to Kirsten. People like, oh, it was a while ago and she barely played. Let's get rid of her. I think he's an easy person they can rally around. Plus, he's not an American. He's an international. And if there is an American strong thing happening, he can be someone that goes just by him being viewed as untrustworthy.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think Dylan's in trouble early. I'm rooting for him. I do like him. I feel like of everyone, he's played the least Survivor, right? He was booted pre-jury in his one season. So he has played less Survivor than anyone else.
He is someone who's seen like international and tweets about like US Survivor and stuff like that. So he knows who he's playing with. I don't know if they know who he is.
Right. I don't think anybody will know who he is, quite honestly. But here's the thing. I think, A, he knows who every single one of them are. B, I think of the entire cast, he is the most likely to do the most research of anybody there, right? I feel like he's a super fan from New Zealand who, it's not the most, it's of the English-speaking survivors, it's the least popular one. Like, it's not even on the air anymore. So I feel like he's going to be someone who really, really wants to do badly, and he's going to prepare as hard as he can to get into this game. But I do agree, AJ, I think he's in a lot of trouble early because I think of the American group, I think he's somebody that they can pick off. Also, there's only 2 New Zealand people playing, which I think,
and they didn't work together in this season.
Well, so you have 2 New Zealand people playing. I'm going to be a Dylan apologist here.
Okay.
The 2 New Zealand people are playing. One of them went pre-merge and one of them was the winner. Yep. Who are you voting out? You're voting out the winner. My thing on Dylan is that we need to also remember that season started with a schoolyard pick where Dylan was the last person chosen by either tribe. So he was just like left there and so he was on the bottom to start the game. So the fact that he wasn't the first boot from his tribe, even if they didn't like him, even if they didn't trust him, shows that he has game savvy. He's scrappy. I think now I'm going to start blowing smoke because I haven't watched enough. But I believe that the reason that he got voted out was because after a tribe swap, he turned on one of his old tribe mates and then became like Benedict Arnold, public enemy #1. And then they were like deuces. Gotcha. So in an individual game like Sequester, where you just have to claw to make sure it's anyone but you and there's none of this like inherent loyalty automatically, why can't Dylan do well? I'm not voting him out right away.
Interesting. Yeah. Dante, what are your thoughts on Dylan's chances here?
I'll keep it quick. I think he's just a messy queen who just did not keep his story straight. And I feel like in Sequester, he's going to give you like me drunkenly telling Lou, like, vote Lou. Like, it's just going to be a mess. I'm expecting messiness, but I'm here for it. Low expectations.
Every mini needs an Abby.
I mean, every mini would be great if we had an Abby. Excellent.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're generally thinking potentially pre-jury. Is that safe to say? Okay.
Yeah.
So Pay, right? C-Pay is next. AJ, were you the one that was a big C-Pay fan?
I am a big C-Pay fan. I don't think I was the one, but like, C-Pay.
I mean, out of us, like not the #1, but like you're a fan, right?
Y'all better let C-Pay get to the jury. That's all I'm saying. If C-Pay does not make the jury, I'm gonna be mad at every single one of y'all. Oh my god, I love this chick. This chick is so fun. She is so smart. She can speak. She's a great talker. I just love everything about her. She can be in a bad situation and flip it on its head, so she's like coming out on top. Like, y'all, this biker chick, this love queen, like
biker queen. That is her job. Her job is biker queen.
It's amazing.
She's amazing. Like the issue was like she was like almost voted out first in the season, but it was like her social game, her being able to connect with people that like saved her from that situation. She wasn't originally part of the core alliance, but she got her way into that core alliance, and she was like an integral member. So much they was like when she was voted out, they was like, oh, she's running the game. we got to get CPay out. And one thing that was an issue on her thing was she had her hand in too many cookie jars and stuff like that. That's a good thing in Sequester because people don't have time to compare notes. Like, oh, is this person working with CPay 2? Oh, this person working with CPay 2. If she's well connected, has enough friends, she could like make a tear in this game. And like, I would love nothing more than to see CPay the winner of this Sequester. I don't think it's going to happen, but I want to see it happen.
Dante, you're celebrating down there. What are your thoughts?
Ew. Oh my God. I geeked when I saw that. Like, even before the cast was released, when I saw the twist, I was like, oh my God, could they get CPay? I'm like, girl, Island of Secrets. I said it at the top. I don't know. Some people don't love it. I geeked for that season. I love this like Saula, CPay, Nicole, Jacques. She is incredible. Yes, Goldie, I'm with you. I just love like her whole storyline. She had so much insight. She's like a mother. She's like lived a lot of life. She has so much life experience. She was like the mother of her tribe. She was like on the outs. Then she became a mastermind. It was like, she's gold. I'm like, yes, girl. Winner pick. That's my
That's your winner pick. Ooh, yeah. Hot takes, yes.
That would be phenomenal if she won.
Yeah. So I have not watched Island of Secrets, but the things that I know about CPay, number one, that her job is entrepreneur/biker queen. I'm in. Number two, her Survivor wiki page is significantly longer than everyone else on that season, including the people who like went to the end and won. So fans love her. I'm expecting big things from this lady. And then game-wise, the one thing that really works to her benefit that I don't know how many people are thinking of, I believe she is the only person on this cast who has previously cast a jury vote for another person on this cast.
Ooh, interesting.
So even though that person didn't win, I feel like she owes her a little something, something.
The other person voted for her too, right?
No, he did not.
He did not? Oh.
He did not.
Who did he vote? Oh, he voted. Okay, never mind.
The other guy.
Ignore me. Voted for the wrong person.
I'm a really good Wikipedia guy.
So we have one winner pick. Where else do we think CPay is going to potentially be?
I haven't met her yet, but I would love to see her go far. I would love her to become my winner pick as the game goes on.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, my prediction is that it's going to be U.S. heavy at the end. But if I had to predict the international player that's going to go the furthest, it's CPay.
Great.
I predict that of all the international people, she's going to have the most stands on Twitter.
There we go. I love it.
I'm already having a meltdown, imagining. I'm like preparing for it.
And I mean, to be honest, I didn't think like when I was, she never crossed my mind, even though I loved her so much. I didn't think she was someone who would be put in this position or would be on Sequester. Like it never dawned on me that would be a possibility. So I'm so excited to see her play because she's just such a fun character.
One thing I do want to point out there for the South African people is that this is a really weird time of day. They're actually playing from like 2 a.m. or something like that.
Everybody else has an advantage there.
Yeah. So even like, I mean, the Australians and the New Zealanders, is that like, how do you, okay. Kiwis are starting in their morning, like in the mid-morning time. Like this is at nighttime for us. This is a weird time for those who are South African. But as we saw Kellen win the game, and when she started in, I think, the same time zone, it can work to your benefit. Just put it out there.
I believe there's also an Australian playing from Europe, if I read correctly somewhere.
Okay. Interesting.
Not 100% sure.
So Nick is next. What are our impressions on Nick? I think he was just also on the Australian All-Star season, if I'm correct.
He was.
Yes, he was.
What are our thoughts on that?
So Nick is very well connected to RHAP, which I think is going to be interesting. Right? He's a podcaster. He just missed the merge on All-Stars, but he's a teacher, and we love teachers. So and he's a strategist. And in a game, Australian Survivor, one of the big differences between it and American is that the challenges are significantly more physical.
Mm-hmm.
And if you meet Nick Iadanza, he's not built like that. He's not going to do well in Survivor because of his physical chops. If anything, he would be a challenge liability outside of puzzles. And yet that has not been even remotely a reason to target him. I believe both times he played. Yeah. So he's all strategy. He's got a lot. He was like the original Snake.
A snake.
But there have been so many people who have played snakier games since then. He's just cool. I just love Nick. Like, Nick's great.
So where are you thinking he might potentially be in the boot order?
I mean, there's so many. We haven't said enough pre-jury people yet. I do think that there's somebody else from Australia who I have higher hopes for than Nick. But Nick is part of my duo that I'm hoping also does very well. So, spoilers.
Dante, do you have thoughts on Nick?
Oh, sorry, my thing glitched out.
You're fine. You're fine. Yeah, I was just asking if you had thoughts on Nick.
I like Nick. Okay, I'm gonna say something weird. I thought he was gay, and then his loved one came and it was his wife, and he has children. Confused by that. I like him. I think he did great on his first one. I liked him on All Stars. Yeah, very strategic. Doesn't always work out, but yeah, I think he'll definitely be middle of the road.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
Like late pre-jury, early jury kind of phrase.
I almost think he's gonna repeat All Stars and miss the jury.
Be like the last vote out beforehand.
Yeah.
AJ, do you have thoughts, or Louis?
Yeah, so for Nick, I mean, of the international cast, aside from one other person who's probably my favorite of that group, he's up there. I love Nick Iadanza. His podcasts where he talks for 7 hours about strategy and about his season are, fantastic. I never get through all of them, but it's, he is one of those great minds in Survivor who can speak about Survivor nonstop. Now, the thing... he would be my pick, honestly, for first boot, just because I feel like he's so dangerous. And once again, if we are sticking to the theme of, international versus US, if the US is smart, they're going to target him first because he is so bright and he is so dangerous of, the group that's playing. The RHAP thing may save him, though, because he may have enough connections with the other side that they may not try to boot him first. And he may be someone that they want to work with of a group that they probably, the majority, know nothing about aside from him. He's probably the only one that they know, which I think will get him a while, but I think they'll realize pretty quickly how dangerous he is. So I would say I'm going pre-jury, even though I hope that's not true, because I would like him to go far into the game.
AJ, any wrap-up thoughts on Nick before we move on?
I love Nick. I love everything Nick is about. I knew as soon as I heard those internationals coming on, I was like, he's going to be on and he's going to be so fun. We're going to love watching him. He is such a fun player. He's such he's not even just a strategist, but he entertains too. He's strategy but fun. He's fun strategy, and as a person watching, I'm gonna be so excited. Plus, he's coming in with a pair. He's part of probably my favorite trio in all of Survivor history. Where's Shoni at? But
where is Shani?
Well, actually, what
is telling us right now that she just didn't want to play.
Well, let's actually just take a second and applaud Redmond for all of the work that he did to help put the cast together. Thank you so much, both for this Sequester mini and the one previously. Redmond is saying in the chat that it was never an almost she didn't want to play, which is fair enough. For people. But Shani, there's always next time if you're interested, if you see Buddy's play well.
There's no Australian player that I think the fans wanted to see play more than Shani. I wanted Shani there so bad.
I wanted Shani, and I haven't really watched Australian Survivor.
I wanted Shani, but I also wanted Luke.
Excellent. So
let's with no Luke.
Let's move on to Nicole Capper.
One more thing about Nick. Someone was the Australian Rob Cesternino. I can 100% see Nick going on the same journey as Rob did in his Sequester game. And I hope he can find LOSs like Rob, or else I do think he could be an early boot, unfortunately. Yeah. But every second he's on it, I'm going to be happy.
Absolutely. Excellent. Well, let's move our attention over to Nicole Capper from South Africa. Dante, what are your thoughts on Nicole? Because wasn't she runner-up in her season?
Yeah, and she had so much drama with her cast because she was like doing this like honesty thing, and they were like, "Girl, no, you lied. You're such a liar." She's like, this like pageant queen. I love the way she speaks. I don't know if that's like valid in this, but like her accent is so like posh and just really precise. And I don't know, I thought she was so much fun in Island of Secrets. She was low-key so cutthroat, like stab people, cut people, lied to their faces, promised their mama and their loved one, like, I got them, they're safe, and then boom. The problem was she just didn't own it. I mean, I feel like she was trying to be like, I'm so honest. In the end, and it was like, girl, no, you just had to be like, I was the complete terror and like reward me, crown it. But it didn't work. Yeah, I hope she does great again. I think she's really cutthroat. I think if you sleep on Nicole, it is a mistake because she is a threat. I don't think people are going to know that right away, but I think it's going to become very clear that she is a threat once the game is going. I see her having like a wall of heads by the night.
Oh, so, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that a lot.
I expect her to make jury, so that's my guess.
Ooh, okay. So you think that she'll make jury? She'll go that far. I don't know much about Nicole, just what I was able to read on Wikipedia and stuff. And from what I was able to see there, she's somebody that I feel like I'm interested to see if she will be international strong or if she's going to try to infiltrate also the U.S. side of things. And if so, I think based off of what you're saying and what I read, I thought that maybe like her and Missy could be like an incredible duo of just decapitating people left and right in the game.
That's interesting.
But we'll have to see. Andy, AJ, Louie, do you guys have thoughts on Nicole?
I love Nicole. Nicole is great on like every level, and I know that she's bringing wine. I like.
She asked what time. It was too early to start drinking.
It's too.
Nope.
It's never too early.
Oh my God, I love it.
Think, and I know she left a bad taste in her cast mouth and stuff like that. But like, let's not forget, like she was someone early on, especially people just gravitated towards her. Like people liked her, people wanted to work with her, and it was because of the things she was doing in the game that like soured people. It wasn't like, oh, I don't like her. It's because of her actions herself. So naturally, people do like to work with her. Like there was a girl on that season that like competed in a pageant with her that didn't like her, and then by the time she was voted out, she was like, you know what, I like her.
And she got voted out first, and she still said she liked her.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I think Nicole. Don't sleep on Nicole. Nicole is a threat. She is cutthroat. She's also someone I could see getting dragged though. I don't think she's making the jury. So
I just like that her bio was like, Nicole's daughter was diagnosed with a rare genetic condition. So Nicole was inspired and just went and won Miss South Africa. Because like that's a very standard linear path that one should take. It's the perfect response to stimulus.
But isn't she also a pharmacist?
Yes, the licensed pharmacist went and won Miss South Africa. That was the whole. That's like the one sentence.
As you do. I used to work at a pharmacy school, and we did also tell people make sure you go and win different kinds of pageants afterwards.
I think that's a natural course of call. It's like if you're not a pageant winner, you can't be a pharmacist. That's on period.
Not all all pageant winners are pharmacists, but not all pharmacists are pageant winners.
Yes, I think that's what it is, Louis. I think that we're coming down to some...
I might have flipped them. But, I like Nicole. One of the things that I've been interested in seeing over the past day or so is the international like participation in like responding to fans as they like get drafted and stuff. And I think it's so sweet because you don't really see the Americans doing that much, but so many of the international players, Nicole being one of them, are like commenting when someone's commenting on them and are very excited. And I love to see that because Nicole, you know, I didn't dislike Nicole at all, but she was a bit of kind of like an ice queen in her season, right? Like she was very down to business. And she also had a very strong alliance, and she stuck to that strong alliance the entire time, which I think is something that she will try to do again in Sequester, is try to form a group of people and stick with them. I would worry about the other side and people just realizing what a threat she is early on. like them. She comes across as a threat. She comes across as somebody that you need to look out for because she is so strong, because she is so well-spoken. And I worry about people by round 2, round 3 being like, Nicole has to go because she's going to be dangerous endgame. So that's my fear for her, and that I think she could possibly go early.
I will say the one thing about Nicole is if they haven't watched, well, we know some of them have watched International Survivors and stuff like that, but for the ones who hasn't, she don't give off the vibe that she's like cutthroat, that she's someone you're scared of. She don't give off that vibe. So she could be surprising some people, and that'll be to their detriment. Y'all better not see.
Interesting. I can't wait to see her play. I hope she goes far. So the next one we have is Tony. Is it Tebet? From South Africa as well. I don't know much about Tony. Who can speak on her game?
The one thing I know about Tony is that she was on a different season from the other 3 South Africans. So she's coming in slightly less connected than the other South African players, which is either really, really good for her or really, really bad. Her season was before theirs, so there's all the chance that she's met them. But it's curious to see if the international Survivor alumni community is the same as it is in the US, where everybody's intermingling. I'd be interested to see what Tony brings there, because she's coming in with no connections if they don't have a big thing there.
Interesting. Dante, as someone who I think you've watched all of South Africa seasons.
So her season, I definitely watched because I rewatched the clip and I was like, "Who the heck are you?" And I remember you, but I don't remember you. And her season, I mean, I'm sorry to everyone on her season. It was a great season.
It was a mess. The little bit that I saw.
It was a little low budget, like, right? It was a little like weird editing. It was like before they got their chops. I feel like Island of Secrets was like production and like narration and just like gave you the like US like crisp kind of edit. Her season was kind of hard to follow. She was very like athletic. She's kind of nice. I can't remember too much about her, but I think maybe because she wasn't on these like popular South Africa seasons, like the later one, that maybe she'll come in aggressive. But I have no idea.
Yeah, I actually think Tony will do pretty well. That was the season with she was another one who was in a pretty firm alliance. She was always kind of at the bottom of the totem pole of that alliance. It was the alliance with Werner, who I feel like is probably one of the most famous Survivor South Africa contestants that everybody remembers, and she was kind of just chopped along the way. Like, there's not too many standout moments that I can remember from her, aside from what Dante said, is that I remember her being very nice. She was very likable and very sweet, and everybody kind of got along with her, which I think, if I'm going through this side of the cast, I think that she's one who can probably do pretty well. Like, I feel like she might not have a big game, but I don't think people are going to be targeting her as a huge threat anytime soon of the international group. And I think she could go away. If I had to predict, I think she'll make the jury, and I would go as far as to say maybe mid-jury, because she does seem very, very likable, and it seems like she's very invested in playing this game. I think she's very interested in playing from everything that I've seen so far.
All right. So that wraps up the third row. We are in the home stretch here, guys. We're bringing it home.
Almost there.
We're going to see if we can do this in 25 minutes. And we're on a good pace. We're on a good pace. So we're going to start off with Annalise Wilson.
I love Annalise.
Oh, Andy, why don't you start us off then?
So when I found out that Annalise was on this cast, I had one very specific goal, and it is that Annalise and Tessa need to be in for the echo chamber round. That has to happen. The first thing I think of when I think of Annalise was a pre-merge vote, because Australian Survivor does a weird thing where they will occasionally have tribal councils that don't eliminate people. So there was one on her season where her tribe was at tribal council. They voted someone out, and then right before Jonathan went to snuff her torch, he was like, "Nah, I'm not going to do that." And then he told the tribe to vote out someone else. And what happened was, because there was no time for discussion, you have Tessa going up to vote and screaming, "I'm sorry, Annalise, but I'm voting for you because we need to keep the tribe strong," or whatever she said. And so, then everybody who continued to vote after that just, screamed their confessional voting for Annalise.
Oh, my God.
It was easily like top 5 funniest things I've ever seen on Survivor. And now,
Wow.
and per that vote, like neither one of the 2 players who got voted out were eliminated. They got voted to the other tribe. It was kind of weird. But Annalise's actual vote out was also kind of unceremonious because she was taken out with an idol nullifier, but one with really bad rules that were allowed. The idol nullifier in that season was allowed to be played after the idol. So Annalise knew she was getting the votes. She played her idol, and then another girl was like, nah. And then Annalise was out of the game. So she's got some redemption that she's due.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think this she'll go?
Again, she's got to make it to the echo chamber for me to live out my fantasy. So, final 5 at least. I mean, she's a decent enough game player. She's not threatening. I could see her doing well if the international players do well.
I love that. Dante, what are your thoughts on Annalise?
She's I mean, she's a little bit of like a goofy girl. She's really like lanky and kind of like has this like goofy laugh, which is really endearing. I love Tess, who will be our like last one that we'll talk about, but I hope that she's not like salty. I don't remember in detail what happened with those two, but I know they like voted each other. Like they were aligned, but then I think Tess wanted to just like make sure it wasn't her. So it was like, bye. But I hope they're going to like team up because I feel like they're a fabulous little duo from Australia. And I love that season. The like pink and teal buff season was so good. That was like classic Australian. Yeah, so love her.
Could have sworn Tessa started the I'm sorry, Annalise. Was it Ziggy? Oops.
Oh, I don't know.
I know that Tessa was part of that. I don't know if she was the first one.
Yeah, she definitely did it.
Louis, what are your thoughts on Annalise?
I like Annalise. I think this is going to be a similar situation to Aaron and Missy in the fact that I think between Annalise and Tessa, I think one of them will go far and one of them will probably get booted early. It's just going to be a matter of which one. Like I said, I don't think a lot of the U.S. players are going to have any idea who the international players are, aside from maybe Adam and Shirin. And I think they probably have a chance to kind of skate the middle just because nobody knows who they are really. And it was an early Australian season. They weren't on All-Stars. So it's not going to be something that rings too many bells. And I also don't think necessarily that anybody will know that those two were on the same season or were working together or do that much research into knowing that. So I think they could skate through for a while, but I think, time will run out probably mid, either late, early rounds or beginning of jury.
Interesting. AJ, do you have any thoughts on Annalise?
I have no faith in Annalise.
Hot take!
I think Annalise is going to go home pre-jury. I feel like she will not be able to find her footing in this game. I feel like she's going to let the game run over her. And I think before she even realizes it, she's getting voted out like third person. I do not have any faith in Annalise at all, if I'm being honest.
Well, remember when she played Survivor, she never really found her footing. She almost got voted out like 8 times. And then also almost got voted out the night where they had the twist. And then she was on the bottom of another tribe. Like,
Can you have faith in a player like that?
Yeah, because she kept surviving. Look at how far she made it. She came in like, remember, like, again, Australian Survivor, lots of people. She came in 11th place, but that means she was the 14th person voted out. Like, she lasted a long time in that game.
So that's kind of actually similar then to like Adam, for example, who was close to getting voted out many times in Winners at War, but somehow made his way all the way to he made it to jury or made it before jury?
Everybody made the jury.
Right before, yeah.
Everyone.
Well, yeah, you're right.
You
I
made
meant
the
merge. I meant
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Great. Well, why don't we move on to Harry Hills from Australia as well? Now, was he an All-Star as well? Yes, that's
Dirty
right.
Harry. He did well.
Harry.
Yes, that's right. So I've watched 2 episodes of Australia All-Stars, and so I thought I remembered his face there. I can't really speak much. I felt like he's really duplicitous, right? Isn't that his thing? Or
Talk to him about his child.
Oh, God.
Child.
Yeah, in his first season, he pretended to have a child.
Wow.
I love Dirty Harry, though.
Yeah, and I feel like he redeemed himself in that light. I mean, not that he needed to redeem himself, because I think people thought it was fun by the end. But in All Stars, I feel like people were rooting for him for a while. Like, he did not play that same game. I feel like he played a more hero type game. He was the underdog. He was
on the bottom the whole time.
Yeah, the bottom the whole time. He was in an alliance that people loved. Like, for me, he was always the third of that group just because I love Shawnee and Nick so much. But yeah, he's someone who turned his reputation around to be rootable. And I fear that his reputation from the first season, like, for people who don't know a ton about Survivor Australia, Dirty Harry is a name that is, pretty synonymous with Survivor Australia. So if you know anything, like even just a baseline of what Survivor Australia is, that, which may be all they care about, to be like, oh, this guy's a snake, let's vote him out immediately. So I worry about his chances that he may be targeted from the very beginning, but I'm a fan of it.
So in my draft that I did, where it's a 9-person draft, so we each only have 2 players.
Okay.
I had Lauren, my first pick, and I guess by proxy, my winner pick is Harry. So
okay.
I mean, I don't even know if I have a winner pick. I just love all these people too much. It's bad. But I think that Harry is, his redemption story in terms of like perception is really strong. Because in a similar vein to Nick, like, Harry's not like a super outwardly physical competitor who comes on to Survivor Champions versus Contenders, is playing with like these Olympians and pro athletes and that guy John, and makes it to final 3, survives 49 days. Because, like, again, like, that cannot be understated that they have to play a much harder game in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Comes back, is now on the bottom with a reputation against All-Stars, is in an alliance of 3 that gets split up at the tribe swap, and still hits the merge. And, like, he never gets into power, and yet he still does exactly what he needs to do. And by the time he's voted out, like, he got voted out because between the immunity challenge and that tribal council, they put them in this random dark field for like 5 minutes to talk to each other about the vote. He almost got that vote flipped. If they would have gone back to camp and had time to discuss, it could have happened. Now, obviously, in a Sequester mini, he's not going to get that time either. But the level of fluidity in a Sequester game really plays to Harry's strengths. So I'm in on him.
Do we have thoughts of where he's going to place Dante?
I could see him making jury. I hope he plays some LOSs because he's like Mr. Idol on like, he's like the like Russell Hantz of Survivor. He's just like, he like fakes having one, or like he might have one. And I just hope he gives good tribal counsel, and he always has this little toothpick. So I'm just like hoping he brings some of his little Harryisms to Sequester. But yeah, I could see him on the jury for sure.
Great. Are we all thinking jury is a possibility for Harry? Louis says no.
No, I mean, I hope if I had to put money on a first boot, it's Harry.
I mean, his floor is first boot, but he can definitely win.
I don't think his reputation, I think his reputation is too much in the fact that he will be an immediate target for all of the Americans. If they're picking just one person out of that group, somebody's going to mention that how snaky he was the first season, and it's going to gain traction early on.
You know what? They better not. Let me tell you about Dirty Harry. Dirty Harry is like, oh my God, he is so good. He should have won his first season. I would not hear anything else. Like, he should not have gone home in All-Stars. Like, Dirty Harry is one of my favorite players from Australia. He is just so good. He is not afraid to make moves. And like in this game where you need to make moves, he's going to be one of the people that's like, you know what? Let's make a move. Let's go flip the game upside down. He don't care if you're an American. He don't care if you're international. He's like, let's go make a move. I think this is what I need to do for my best. Like, he's very like, he's Dirty Harry for a reason. He's like very duplicitous, but like, I think he did like change his reputation around. Now, listen, I still call him Dirty Harry, so that might not be good. Like, if they don't watch it, they're like, oh, this guy's Dirty Harry. Let's get him out. He's dirty. But like, don't be sitting there, Missy, Albert, pretending y'all aren't dirty players and crap like that. Y'all better like work. Like, I think if there's someone who could like defy the odds of all the international people and come out with a win, I think it is Dirty Harry, and I will not hear anything else.
All right. Well, we've got some strong opinions on Harry or Dirty Harry. Let's move on to Lisa Stanger from New Zealand, right? And she won?
She won.
That's right. Okay. Excellent. Now, I also know, I think that she's pretty involved with the RHAP community. I don't know if she podcasts or not, but I believe that I've seen her. I think that she's a patron and pretty vocal and such in there. So I'm interested to see how those connections potentially help her within the game.
Yeah. She was definitely a super fan before she played.
Yeah, she may be the biggest fan in this she may be one of the biggest super fans in the history of Survivor.
That's
like
amazing.
she has seen like every season many, many times. And, you know, she cried when she got the immunity idol for the first time because she was so happy to be living the dream of playing Survivor, right? Like, I love everything about Lisa's story. Lisa is probably one of, and I don't have like an exact ranking, but she's definitely like top 3, top 4 of my favorite Survivor winners ever, just because I feel like her story is so good. Like, her story rivals Adam's, only to me it's better because she's, you know, an older, you know, librarian mom who just loves this game and loves, you know, social games and loves the game of Survivor and waited for it to come to New Zealand, never thought she would get a chance and got to play it. And I think that whole story is fantastic. And I think she played an incredible game too. Like, she played such a good game of, you know, playing the role of, oh, I'm just a mom who's here to make my family proud, when really she was
but
there.
That's crap.
Yeah, she was there. Exactly. She was there to cut throats. She was there to win the game. And like, she was teaching people the game as she went along. So my only fear for her in Sequester is that she gets targeted because she won. I hope that's not the case, because I think if people give her a chance, they'll want to play with her. And I, you know, she's my backup winner pick. If it's not Lauren, it's Lisa.
Well, question for you guys. Do you think that she's somebody that you could potentially see teaming up with someone like Adam, who's obviously another big super fan who has also won the game before? Or do you think that they would find reasons to target each other because of that in the game?
I could see them working together because I love Adam, and I think he's the type of person that's like, I need a friend. You'll be my friend. Let's be friends. Like
what he did to Denise, basically.
Yeah, basically what he did to Denise, basically.
I think what worries me about, I don't know enough about Lisa to say how she would handle this, but what worries me about someone like an Adam is that he's really good at ensuring survival and staying in the game, but he's not necessarily persuasive enough to orchestrate who goes. So he might be able to deflect attention off of Lisa, but somebody who knows Lisa a little bit better, let me know, is she going to be able to actually run a vote to be able to like orchestrate a boot order that is like conducive to the winners doing well?
I don't think the people are going to be like looking at Lisa. I think Lisa is someone that they could like honestly forget about and to their detriment. Like, could Lisa like orchestrate a vote? Yes, she could. Don't sleep on this librarian.
But she's going to have to do it behind the scenes is the thing. She's not going to be someone like all of us, let's get together, we're voting someone out. She's going to be someone who is doing it where people don't see it coming, and all of a sudden we're down to like final 6, final 5, and she's actually been running the game for the past 5 rounds from behind the scenes.
Dante, you've been shaking your head a lot in agreement. What are your thoughts on Lisa?
I just remember cutthroat librarian ticking off her little tick box every time she did something. She was like, tick, and you know, like, girl, I would be so afraid to play with Lisa. I would be like, I'd either try to get her out, or I'd just be like, listen, can't fight you. I'm gonna join you because you are scary. She's like a little librarian, but she's so scary. I don't know. She'll like savagely lie, and yeah, I think she's threatening.
Where do we think that she's gonna be? Where's her placement?
I'm gonna be positive on this one. I think she's gonna make the jury. I would say late jury, maybe even into the final 4.
I think she is final 4. I think she could get dragged from the 3rd place drag, and I'd be crying about it all night. But like, I think she's making a deep run in this. Don't sleep on Lisa.
I say deep.
I will be the contrarian and say she goes out on safety roulette.
Of course you are.
All right. We have
maybe they'll play it post-jury this time.
Oddly specific.
We have 2 more people and 8 minutes to do it. So can we do it? All right. So we've got Jacques.
Let's talk fast.
Let's talk fast. Jacques from South Africa.
I know nothing.
He's another super fan. He had some questionable plays when he played. Like he played the idol where he swore he was going to play it for his ally, and then at the last second played it for himself when he was in absolutely no danger. He rebounded from that and played a good game. He was definitely a fan favorite because he loved it so much. My hopes aren't too high with him, but I feel like a lot of the international players, like especially the men, kind of blend together. So I feel like I would put him probably before jury, probably mid pregame.
Jack is the type, I know, Beth.
We want to watch
the type of person who is going to get himself in trouble by doing too much in the game and then go home earlier than he should have. I think he's going pre-jury.
I love Jacques. He likes one of my tweets before I deleted Twitter, so that was nice. Thanks for looking at me, Jacques. Okay. And I just love his accent. I'm glad we get a little male South African accent. I hope he stays. He had a reputation for being sneaky and good at the game, and it was too good, and they chopped him. So I say he'll make a merge.
Ooh, love that. So we have some conflicting thoughts on Jacques, where he'll be. So Jacques, we wish you good luck. And let's end with Tess, or is it Tessa? Because
Tessa.
I've heard Tessa. Okay.
Because there was a Tessa on New Zealand, but this is Tessa from Australia.
Tessa from Australia. So we know that she is probably coming in aligned with Annalise. Is that what we were talking about earlier?
Well, aligned? Questionable. They played on the same season and were on the same tribe. But
gotcha.
Tessa had a really interesting road because she started out like way on the bottom of that tribe. They started with 12 people. Her ally gets blindsided at the first tribal they go to. A second ally goes out at the next tribal. Her last remaining ally has an idol, gives it to her. She plays it on herself. The ally goes home. And then she's still just chilling here now at like an 8-1 disadvantage on this tribe. And she manages to slither her way in. She gets in good like after the tribe swap. She makes her little champagne alliance. Her boot was one of like the most iconic boots in that season of Australian Survivor because it was a final 9 and it was like a 3-2 vote. Like it was insane. You had 4 people tied and then Tessa goes by 1 vote. And then she gets booted from the jury. Like, she had a hard road, but she earned every minute of love that she gets. And
she has some redemption that she wants to come for.
I hope she does really well here. I don't know, but I hope she will.
Yeah, if I had to put bets between Tessa and Annalise as to who will do better and who is more suited for Sequester, I would say it's Tessa. I think she's had, she's used, once again, we talked about it with Andrea, we talked about it with Michele, she's used to having her back against the wall. She had to fight her entire season to get anywhere. And that just is more suited for a Sequester player. Like if you have that fire that you need to constantly scramble and that's ingrained from you from what you've already experienced, I feel like it'll help you in the game. And when her name does go around, she'll know she has to fight and she'll know she has to move quick. So betting between the two, I think Tessa outlasts Annalise, and I would say early jury.
Excellent.
Echo chamber.
Dante and AJ, do you have thoughts on Tess or Tessa? Because I guess she goes by both.
I love her. I think she's great. I loved her. I related so hard to her just like horrible trajectory of like being on the bottom, but fighting, but like making it far, but just always like getting screwed over and then like hopefully maybe getting power, but then not. Yeah. I hope she does great. I think she's really feisty, scrappy, and she was such a rootable underdog on her show. I mean, I just thought she was a fan favorite.
Excellent.
Tess is dangerous. Don't let her. She's the type of person that's like, if you give her an inch, she'll take a mile. Like that's the type of person she is. So y'all better not give her an inch. But when y'all give her an inch, I'ma love watching it. like I think she's very a capable player. I think if this was like a normal mini and she was like a normal person, like she's someone I could easily see win the game. But because this is like a Survivor thing and she's like an international survivor, I'm scared about her chances.
Absolutely. Well, we wish all 20 of these Survivor players luck in our crazy game of Sequester. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching. I want to thank Louie for approaching me and saying, hey, can we do something? And I said, why don't we do a podcast together and all that fun stuff. Louie, thank you so much for bringing these three amazing guests, Andy, Dante, and AJ, on to chat with us today. Please subscribe to My Weekly Meltdown here on YouTube. Like the video. We're also on Apple Podcasts. Louie, where can we find Podquester?
YouTube. Go search Podquester. We have a live stream coming up here in 2 minutes, which I'm going to sign off here and jump on that and follow the mini tonight. But Beth, thank you so much for having us on. I think this is so cool. I want to definitely, be able to do this again and, hang out with you. It's a lot of fun whenever we talk.
Sounds good. And Andy, Dante, and AJ, where can we find you guys on social media?
So I'm really easy. I'm at Andy Vogel. Vogel is VOGL. I realize now we should have put it on our little chyrons like that did.
It's okay.
Thanks so much for having me on, Beth. This was awesome.
Of course. Happy to have you. Dante, where can we find you on social media if you want to be found?
I just deleted my social media, but I'm on.
You're healthier for doing it.
I'm on the Discord. Hit me up on the Sequester Discord.
Perfect. AJ.
You can find me on Twitter at the Kid Norris.
The Kid Norris.
Because it's the boy, it's the kid, it's me.
Perfect.
I am the kid.
Well, we will let you all depart so that you can go watch Sequester tonight. Remember, become a patron of Sequester at patreon.com/Sequester. And I hope you all have a wonderful night. We'll see you all tomorrow for the Survivor Sequester mini. Bye.